I really didn't know what to say in this speech because with every piece of advice I had, two smart-ass comments seemed to follow in my mind. I thought about giving some general advice or just writing this as fast as I could to get it onto Mr. Schultz's desk, but I had an even better idea. Mr. Marvin told me that I should open up and share something deep, so this is a short narrative of a moment that changed my outlook on life. It wasn't long until the devil reached his soul. The scripture reading of my school priest hit me like the sounds of a noise machine, ignored by a sleeping child. As the ring of the bell dismissed me and my classmates out into the halls, I walked alone. It is at this point the race begins. The usual undisclosed competition happens every day at the end of school, when everyone rushes to be the first to make it out the doors. Although I was a small and somewhat distended, that means fat, by the way, I had the elegance of a salmon swimming upstream when it came to this sport. I was rewarded with a fresh wooden bench outside to loiter at until my mom would choose to pick me up. After having waited around an hour and everyone else having been picked up, I assumed my mom would be a while. With this thought in mind, I decided to explore, never having really paid attention to the litters of posters and plaques along the walls. I became immersed in the meandering of my eyes from paper to trophy to plaque. Eventually, what caught my eye was an old-looking plaque with several small metal plates containing the names of those students enrolled in the high school that had passed away. These plates contained their names and the years detailing their lifespan. As I read through the names and the years, my mind raced with the possibilities of their causes of death. I continued reading till I came across a singular empty slate. In that moment, I thought over my entire life. I thought of what I had experienced and what I wanted to experience. But what came into my head the most was the question of who I wanted to become. As I put this thought in the forefront of my mind, I eventually came to believe that I didn't want to experience anything outside of what I knew. This thought haunted me, and I soon realized that I couldn't imagine my life outside of high school. I thought I was bound for death. As this thought became more and more prevalent in my life, it eventually developed into a real belief. While going through most of high school, I felt confident in almost anything I said. Because of this, I was extremely depressed, and I often felt alone, even while surrounded by those that I loved. I let it affect every part of my life, from school to family to friends. I closed many people out and relied on the comfort of external pleasures to cover my sadness. While on the outside, I had the appearance of a hardworking kid who just got bad grades and did bad stuff, on the inside, I dealt with the loneliness and frustration of the unavoidable reality of my looming death. I admit now that this was probably not the best way to go about high school, but after getting out of that dark pit of loneliness, I feel as though I went through some of the roughest years that I'll probably have to ever experience. After everything, I'm still here. Some of you may feel alone. Maybe it's because you're awkward or smell bad, or maybe it's because you feel like you don't fit in. And that's okay. Everyone goes through times when they feel alone or don't know where their life is headed. It's crucial to just not lose track of what is important to you, and whenever you veer off the road of happiness, to focus on your own self-improvement. When I mistakenly thought that I could rely on the support of my friends alone, I took no time to change the parts about me that I eventually learned that I hated. Instead of a battle against an imagined death, I began an internal war against myself. There were nights that I'd often spend outside on the docks next to my house, where I would look into the town and see the beautiful lights and the shimmering black waves gleaming from the moon. And I'd look at myself and wonder how everyone could be so happy while I was so sad. I felt different from everyone else because we all put on a facade of perfection and happiness. I felt flawed for having emotions other than happiness, and through suppression and anger, I allowed those feelings to consume everything that I once was. Don't cover feelings that you're having. Don't cloud yourself with the idea that everyone is perfect and that you aren't, because most likely the person next to you is just as lonely as you are. Feeding into the negative beliefs of others or yourself is just wrong. But most importantly, don't imagine a world without you. Thank you.